Welcome to Dusty Old Stories, a place where the sands of time are not forgotten, but remembered, softly, gently. In the quiet hours of the night, here, we don't rush, we don't chase, we sit still and listen. We open the pages of old scrolls. We blow away the centuries of dust. We speak the names that history left behind. And in these whispered moments, under the soft glow of the moon, we drift through time. Tonight I invite you to lie back, close your eyes, let your breath slow. Feel the weight of the day melt into the blankets beneath you. You are safe now. You are here, and we are going far away, to a place of palm trees and papyrus, of stone temples and golden sand, of gods who walk the earth, and men who listen to the winds. Yes, tonight, we travel to ancient Egypt, but not to the throne room of the pharaoh, not to the treasures buried beneath the pyramids. No, tonight, we follow a quiet man, a man who never ruled, a man who never carved his name in stone, but whose story has floated down through the ages like a feather on the Nile. He was a sailor, nothing more. But sometimes, the ones who speak little are the ones the gods choose to whisper to. His name is lost, but his journey remains. It begins, not with greatness, but with silence. So listen now to the wind. Can you hear it? That is the breath of Ra, the sun god, rising over the river. The oars dip into the water. The ship is leaving the dock, and our sailor stands among the crew, his eyes on the open sea. His journey, and yours, begins now. But before we board the ship, let us go back to the beginning. To a small mud brick house near the banks of the Nile, where the birds greet the morning with song, where the reeds sway gently, and where a boy grows into a man beneath the warmth of the Egyptian sun. He was not born into wealth. There were no gold trinkets, no servants, only hands that worked, feet that walked dusty roads, and eyes that looked off into the water, dreaming of what lay beyond. His father was a fisherman, quiet, kind. He taught the boy how to read the river, how to feel its moods. Some said the boy had a gift. He would stand barefoot on the shore, staring out. Long after the nets were pulled in, he'd watch the boats disappear beyond the bend, and he'd wonder, where do they go? What gods protect them? What storms wait to test them? His mother braided his hair each morning, humming old songs. She told him tales of Thoth, the god of wisdom, and Sobek, the crocodile god who ruled the river's hard. At night, as the stars blinked awake, he would sit by the fire and listen to the old man speak of far kingdoms, of red deserts that stretched into nothing, of serpents that guarded hidden islands, of voices that called from the deep. And so the boy grew, not loud, not bold, but with something quietly burning in him, a yearning. When the time came, he left, not with tears, not with shouts, only a wrapped bundle, a kiss on the forehead, and a promise to return. He walked through the dawn, down the winding path to the docks, where the royal ship waited, tall sails, bright eyes of Horus painted on the sides, men shouting, crates lifted, the scent of fish and salt and spice in the air. He was not the only one boarding, but he felt as though the gods were watching only him, a small man among many, but destined perhaps for something more than he knew. He stepped onto the wood and did not look back. The ship rose and fell gently in the harbor, creaking like an old tree in the wind. The Nile, in the early morning hours, was a mirror of the sky, smooth silver, touched with gold. As the sun crept over the edge of the eastern desert, casting long shadows over Memphis and its sprawling docks, the sailor stood quietly at the stern of the vessel, fingers brushing the edge of the rail. He was now part of the royal expedition. Not a general, not a priest, not even a scribe, but a sailor, one of many, a small cog in the pharaoh's grand mission to trade, to seek, to show the flag of Egypt in distant lands. His task was to obey, to listen, to row when ordered, to anchor when commanded. He was given a spot among the mid-deck crew, those who worked beneath the canopy during the heat of the day and slept shoulder to shoulder during the night. But still, he felt honored. The ship itself was beautiful, constructed of strong cedar, brought from Byblos. Its sails stretched wide, clean and crisp in the morning light. Painted eyes of Horus adorned its sides to see through the unknown. At the bow, a golden hawk figure Horus in flight reached toward the horizon. There were 40 men aboard, maybe more, rowers, guards, priests, a scribe or two, a commander with a trimmed beard and a sharp tongue. The men moved with precision, like an oiled machine. Orders were barked in steady rhythm, but there was also laughter. Egyptians were not solemn by nature. Even in service to the pharaoh they joked. They teased the green ones, told stories of women left behind, of strange beasts in far lands, of gods who walked among fishermen. The sailor listened more than he spoke. He was new, and he knew it, but there was something about his quietness that earned a certain respect. He watched. He learned how the sails moved with the breath of the gods. He memorized the knots. He studied the constellations overhead at night, and, more than anything, he dreamed. Each night, when the ship anchored and the deck grew still, he lay on his back and stared up at the stars, Orion's belt, the great lion, the ibis of Thoth painted in constellations. He whispered old prayers to Hapi, the god of the river, and to Nut, the sky goddess who cradled the stars dot in the distance. Sometimes he thought he saw eyes blinking from the Black Sea. Perhaps it was fish, perhaps it was his mind, but something watched. The voyage down the Nile was slow and calm. The river was generous in its peace. They passed reeds and crocodiles, herons standing like statues in the water. Villages came and went. Children waved. Farmers paused from their fields to nod in silence. Temples lined the banks, tall pillars, carved with ancient names. He marveled at them. They were built by hands like his, yet they touched the sky. After many days, they reached the delta. The land spread out wide like fingers. Marshland, silt, thick green. The air grew heavier with salt and mystery. And then, the edge of Egypt, the place where the river gave way to the sea. They crossed the threshold in quiet awe. Here, the waters changed color. The Nile's dark mud hue gave way to a deeper blue. The wind felt cooler. The ship creaked differently. The scent in the air was no longer of the earth, but of something ancient. This was the great green, the wide open sea dot, and no more banks. No more temples, only waves and sky. The captain changed his tone. The crew tightened their routines. No longer lazy or joking, they moved like hunters. The sea, they knew, had moods, and moods could kill. The sailor felt it too. He sat at the edge of the ship one evening, dangling his feet, watching the light fade. The sun was swallowed by the sea like a golden coin. He listened to the voices behind him, low songs, deep breaths, men whispering prayers dot in that silence. He spoke to no one and to everyone. Watch over us, he said softly to the wind. Speak, if you must, but let us return. He did not know who he spoke to. Ra, Hapi, the serpent god of the deep? He only knew that the sea listened in ways the land never did. Days passed. The sea remained calm. The crew grew more comfortable. They shared dried dates, beer, salted fish. They played small games with polished stones. They told more stories, some true, some twisted by the wind. One guard claimed he had once seen a woman made of fire in the western desert. Another swore he had watched a crocodile rise into the air and vanish in smoke. A priest told the tale of Set, god of storms, and how he once drowned an entire fleet with a single breath. The sailor listened. He didn't speak, but deep inside, he wondered if such things could truly happen. The ship sailed north and east. The days grew longer, the nights colder, the wind shifted. One evening, while tying down a loose rig, he noticed the sky. It was purple, not the soft lavender of dusk, but a strange, bruised purple that spread too quickly. The sea rippled just slightly. He watched the commander walk the deck. The man's jaw was tight. He whispered to the priest, no jokes now, no laughter, though. Next day, the wind screamed out at first. It was just a long, high whistle, then a howl. Then the sails snapped like papyrus scrolls caught in a fire. The storm came fast. Too fast. The sky darkened. The clouds opened. Rain fell like stones. The ship leaned, then groaned, then cried out like a beast. Men shouted. Orders were lost in the wind. The sailor held fast to the mast. His hands burned from the rope. He saw one man thrown overboard, swallowed before anyone could call his name. Lightning cracked. The sea rose. The ship so strong, so proud was now a toy. Lifted, shaken, dropped. Wood splintered. A loud, terrible sound, a crack, like the breaking of heaven. The ship was split. Screams. Foam. A wave larger than a mountain. The sailor went. Under. Darkness. Wait. Silence. Then light. He broke the surface. Coughing. Gasping. No ship. Only pieces. Wood. Rope. Empty sky. And water. Endless water. He reached. Clawed. Found a broken beam, clung to it like a child to a mother's arm. He floated. Time stopped. The storm passed. Or perhaps it didn't. He no longer knew. He drifted. The sky spun. Stars spun. His body stung with salt. He spoke no words. There was no strength left, only breath. And then, not even that. There was no memory of how he arrived, only the gentle press of sun against his skin. The warmth, not harsh, not punishing, but like the hand of a mother brushing dust from a child's face. The sailor opened his eyes slowly. The world was still, spinning, and his limbs ached with the stiffness of sea-soaked muscle. His lips were cracked, his throat dry as stone. But he was alive, and beneath him, not water, sand, warm golden sand that shifted beneath his body. He turned his head slightly and saw palm trees swaying, their fronds rustling softly like the whisper of linen robes through temple corridors. He did not move for a long time, only breathed. The sky above him was the clearest blue he had ever seen, and far from the dark fury of the storm, it seemed eternal, a sky untouched by man, untouched by time. Eventually, his hands moved. He pushed himself up onto his elbows, groaning softly. His joints protested, but they obeyed. He sat up. All around him, the beach curved gently in both directions. No sign of wreckage, no bodies, no sails. Only the empty stretch of sand meeting the lush green heart of the island. Birds cried softly overhead. Their wings cut clean paths across the sky. And not far from him, the glint of water, fresh water. A small pool, clear, still, almost sacred in its stillness, sat cradled between smooth rocks. He crawled to it, knees dragging in the sand, and dipped his hands. The water was cool, sweet. He drank. He did not know how long he drank. It could have been moments. It could have been an hour. But the water brought him back from the edge of some silent death. When he was finished, he lay flat on his back again, looking up. The trees above him stood tall and patient, as if they had been watching him for days, and perhaps they had. The sailor slept, for how long he could not tell. When he awoke, the sun was lower, shadows longer, the breeze cooler. His stomach ached not from pain, but hunger. He stood, legs shaking, and began to move inland. The island was not large, not wild or thick like the tales of jungle islands whispered by other sailors. This one felt quiet, balanced. Nature, yes, but not savage. There were fruit trees, figs, dates, melons growing fat on vines. He picked a fig, tore it open with trembling hands, and ate slowly, letting the flavor roll over his tongue like a prayer. He wept, though he didn't know why. Maybe from gratitude, maybe from the shock of survival, or maybe simply because he could feel again. That night, he built a small shelter beneath a leaning tree, using fallen palm leaves and driftwood. He tucked himself in tightly. The stars above watched silently. He did not fear them. They reminded him of home, of the nights he had spent on the riverbanks, of stories told in whispers and firelight, of gods who rode through the night in boats, made of flame and song. He dreamt, though he wouldn't remember the dream, only the feeling it left behind. It was warm. In the days that followed, the sailor explored. The island revealed itself slowly, as though it had been waiting to be noticed. It had no name, at least not one he knew, but it seemed to carry something old in its soil. There were birds of every color: scarlet, deep green, cobalt blue. They called to each other in sharp, beautiful cries that echoed across the trees. He found more pools, springs of sweet water, caves tucked beneath the hillside. He found stones carved smooth by centuries of wind. He found silence, but not the silence of death. The silence of peace. He fashioned tools from stone and driftwood. He gathered fruit, caught small fish and woven traps made from reeds. He worked not to survive but to stay steady, to give rhythm to the stillness. Each morning, he rose with the sun. Each evening, he watched it fall. He carved tellies on a stone. Days passed, then weeks, maybe more. He no longer counted. He no longer needed to. The sailor began to speak to himself not out of madness, but out of memory. He recited prayers, chanted hymns he'd learned in the temples, told stories he remembered from his mother's voice. One morning, he spoke directly to the sky. "If this is where I die," he said gently, "then let it be slow and without fear." He felt no dread, only wonder. The sea no longer called. To him, the gods no longer seemed far. They were in the rustle of the leaves, the laughter of the stream, the hush between bird calls. One night, he stood on a small hill and looked over the edge of the island. The moon floated on the surface of the sea like a coin waiting to be plucked. He whispered to it, "I see you," he said, and in return, the moon said nothing. But he felt seen. On the 29th day, though perhaps it was the 60th, or the 100th, he felt the earth tremble. It began not as a quake or a roar, but a vibration beneath his feet, as if something enormous was breathing beneath the sand. He turned to the forest. The birds had gone silent. The trees stood frozen. Even the wind paused, holding its breath, and then it came. The grass parted. The trees bowed. A sound soft at first, like silk dragging across stone, then louder, deeper, a hiss, a shadow, and then the serpent. But let us pause here. The moment must not be rushed. The island had given him life, food, water, rest, but it was not finished. No story from ancient Egypt is complete without the gods, and they do not arrive in chariots. They arrive in mystery. In silence. In the moments we least expect, and always, in forms we do not recognize at first. Sleep now, if you must, for the god is near, and the sailor's truest journey is about to begin. It was not fear he felt. Not at first. When the earth trembled and the forest split, when the birds fell, silent, and even the wind stilled its breath, the sailor did not scream. He did not run. He watched, and as the great shadow moved toward him, slow and deliberate, gliding across the sand like water itself, he saw the form take shape. The head appeared first long, narrow, scaled in shining colors that no human hand had ever painted. Blue like the deep sky, green like new reeds, gold like the pharaoh's crown. Each scale shimmered with its own light, catching the sun and casting it back in rippling patterns across the trees. Then the eyes, they were enormous, ancient, not cruel, not angry, just still. The eyes of something that had seen time pass as casually as a man watches the river flow, and then the body followed. The serpent was enormous, 40 cubits at least, longer than the ship he had sailed upon. Its body moved without sound, not slithering, not writhing, but flowing, as though it were part of the island itself. And perhaps it was. The sailor fell to his knees, not from terror, but awe. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum. He felt small, smaller than a grain of sand, yet at the same time, seen, held. The serpent stopped just a few steps away. It lowered its head slightly, gazing at him from a height that made mountains feel humble, and then it spoke, not with a hiss, not with the rage of a god scorned, but with a voice as soft as palm leaves brushing one another in the wind, a voice that seemed to come from the ground, the trees, the sky, and the very air. "Who are you?" it asked. The sailor's mouth opened, but no words came. The serpent waited. So he tried again. "I am no one," he said. The serpent's eyes did not blink. "You breathe, you speak, you remember. That is not no one. Try again." He swallowed hard. "I was a sailor from the pharaoh's house. I served aboard a royal ship. We were caught in a storm." He paused, feeling the weight of it again in his chest. "I don't know how I survived. The serpent did not move. You were brought. By what? By fate. By current. By something greater than either. You came because you were meant to come. The sailor looked down. Am I dead? No, he raised his eyes. Am I dreaming? No, he looked around. Then what is this place? The serpent tilted its head ever so slightly. It is what you need it to be. The sailor breathed deeply. The air smelled of sea salt and fig trees, of something older than both. He dared a question. And who are you? The silence that followed felt like the longest of his life. The serpent did not answer with a name. Instead, it spoke with memory. I was born in the time before names, it said. Before men carved their stories into stone. Before kingdoms. Before ships. I was born when the stars still argued over the shape of the sky. The sailor could not speak. The serpent continued, slow and smooth. I once lived here, with my children, 75, born of sky and sea. They were radiant, fast, wise. The wind listened to them. The birds followed them. The great creature's voice softened. And then, the sky fell. The sailor frowned. A storm? No way. Star. A great light. Fire tore the sky. The land shook. And my children were gone. The serpent did not cry, but the silence that followed was filled with a grief that words could never hold. For many lifetimes, it said, I have remained alone, guarding what is left. Remembering, the sailor bowed his head. I'm sorry. The serpent's gaze rested on him for a long while. You are not the first to land here, but you are the first to stay. The others fled, tried to swim away, tried to cut the trees, burn the land, claim what was not theirs. What happened to them? They were returned to the sea. The sailor's breath caught. But you listened. You drank from the pool. You watched the birds. You spoke to the stars. You remembered the gods. The sailor said nothing. And in that nothing, the serpent seemed pleased. You may remain. It said at last, this island is yours. For a while. For a while? He asked. Yes. In time. A ship will come. You will leave. But not yet. He felt something twist in his chest. I don't want to leave. Not now. The serpent's eyes closed, then opened again slow as tides. No one stays forever. Not even me. A pause. While you are here. Listen. The serpent curled into itself slightly, lowering its head to the earth. Sit with me, it said. I will tell you the stories no scribe ever wrote. I will speak of the time before time, of the sky's first fire, of the song that called Ra from the darkness. The sailor sat. He did not ask questions. He did not doubt. He only listened. The hours passed like dreams. The serpent spoke of the old gods not as myths, but as memories. It told of Shu and Tefnut, the wind and moisture, who gave birth to the world. Of Jeb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, who once embraced so tightly that nothing could grow between them, until Ra ordered them pulled apart. It spoke of a time when stars were not above, but below, when men could speak with jackals and lions, when the rivers ran backward once every 1,000 years to remind men that nature is never owned. The sailor sat like a child at a fire. The serpent's voice lulled him into stillness when the sun began to set, painting the leaves in amber and crimson. The sailor finally spoke. Will I remember all of this? No, said the serpent, not with your mind, but with your breath, your bones, your dreams. The memory will stay in the parts of you that words cannot reach. He nodded slowly. And when the ship comes, you will know. And when I leave, you will carry silence with you. That will be enough. That night, the sailor did not sleep in his shelter. He lay under the stars, arms folded behind his head, eyes open to the heavens. He did not fear what he saw for the first time in his life. The stars did not look like questions. They looked like answers he wasn't meant to understand. And that was enough. Days passed like whispers on the wind. The sailor and the serpent became companions in a way that needs no words to explain. Each morning, the sun would rise in golden waves over the horizon, painting the island in light and shadow. The serpent would rest coiled beneath the palms, its shimmering scales catching the first light like fragments of stars. The sailor would rise from his small shelter, breathe deeply the scent of earth and salt, and prepare for the day. He learned to move more quietly, to listen more deeply. The serpent taught him not with lectures, but through silence, through presence. Some days, the serpent would glide through the trees, parting leaves and reeds, showing him hidden springs, places where the fruit grew sweetest, or the fish swam slow and fat. Other days, the serpent would lie still beside the sailor as he carved simple tools, spears and hooks from wood and bone, bowls from shells found along the shore. Together, they shared the rhythms of the island, the sun's arc across the sky, the tide's slow dance, the whisper of wings, and the quiet conversations between earth and sky. The serpent spoke little now. Mostly it listened. The sailor spoke more, though, not always aloud. His thoughts drifted like clouds. He remembered home, the soft laughter of his mother, the feel of the Nile's cool water, the smell of papyrus scrolls and cooking fires. He thought of the storm that had taken everything from him, and yet he did not dwell on loss. Instead, he dwelled on presence, on the miracle of breath. The serpent taught him patience, patience in waiting, patience in watching, patience in being. He watched the sun set behind the island's rocky hills, each evening more beautiful than the last. Shades of orange, pink, purple bled into the sky, melting into the black velvet of night. The stars returned, constant and calm. The sailor often found himself whispering to the sky, a new kind of prayer. "Thank you," he would say softly, "for the fruit, for the water, for the breath that filled his lungs, for the moments of quiet grace." Sometimes, when the serpent was near, he would ask questions. "Will I see my family again? Do the gods hear me? Is this island my home now?" The serpent's eyes, deep and endless, would watch him. "You carry home within you. Gods are not far. They move with the wind, the stars, and the hearts of men. You are never alone." The sailor found comfort in these words. He learned to find joy in small things. A fish caught with a handmade spear, a bird's song in the morning, the gentle touch of a cool breeze on hot skin. He began to understand the island was not a prison, but a sanctuary, a place where time stretched wide and soft, where the soul could breathe without hurry. The sailor's heart grew quiet, not empty, not hollow, but full of a peaceful knowing. One evening, as the sun sank low, the serpent spoke again. "There is a time coming," it said, "when you will leave." The sailor nodded, though he felt the weight of the thought like a stone in his chest. "Will I forget this place?" "No," said the serpent, "but your mind will try. It will tell you the island was a dream. The heart will remember, and that is enough." The sailor looked out over the sea, where the horizon blurred between water and sky. "Will I be ready?" "You already are." The days grew shorter. The sailor's strength returned. His skin was bronzed by the sun, his hands calloused from work. But more than that, he had grown wise, not with books or scrolls, but with the deep wisdom of silence. He had learned what many kings and priests never knew, that the greatest journey is the one within, and sometimes the most profound teaching comes from listening, not speaking. Waiting. Being. As the sun set on the final day, the serpent spoke. "The ship is near. Soon. You will go." The sailor's heart both ached and soared. He looked at the great serpent, shimmering in the dying light, eyes glowing like embers. "Thank you," he whispered, "for your wisdom, for your company, for your stories." The serpent lowered its great head in a bow. "Go with peace." That night, the sailor slept beneath the stars, feeling the weight of everything he had learned settle gently upon him. He was ready. The days passed slowly, each one folded softly into the next, like the petals of a lotus flower opening in the dawn light. The sailor woke to the gentle song of birds and the whisper of the sea breeze. The island had become home, not a place of exile, but a sanctuary of quiet reflection and deep learning. Yet, in the back of his mind, a quiet anticipation stirred. He knew the serpent's words were true. The ship would come, and with it, the time to leave. On the morning when the horizon first showed a distant silhouette, The sailor was seated by the freshwater pool. The sun was just beginning to lift itself over the trees, and the light shimmered across the surface of the water, sparkling like scattered jewels. He spotted the shape before any other sound or sign. A thin line on the horizon that grew wider and more distinct with each passing moment. A ship, not the small fishing boats that sometimes drifted near the island's edge, but a large vessel, tall masts, billowing sails, a moving shadow cutting across the blue sea. The sailor's heart beat faster. He stood slowly, feeling the solid earth beneath his feet and the warmth of the sun on his skin. The island had taught him patience, and patience told him to wait. The ship grew closer. From the deck, he saw figures, men and women moving about, waving long poles and shouting, and then, with a rush of wind and a crash of waves, the ship anchored near the shore. The sailor moved toward the water's edge. The strangers looked at him with wide eyes, a man sunburned and lean, with wild hair and eyes that held the quiet depths of the island itself. One of the men shouted something in a language he barely understood, but their meaning was clear. They were rescuers, come searching for lost souls. The sailor smiled softly. He was home. The journey back was slow, not just through the sea, but through time. Back to the riverbanks and mud-brick homes, back to the voices of children and the laughter of women, back to the rhythms of life he had once known, yet had changed forever. His family barely recognized him at first. The beard was longer, the eyes deeper, the hands rougher. They listened to his story, eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. The island, he told them, is real, and the serpent is real, and the gods speak in silence. Some laughed, some wept, but the sailor cared little for their judgment. He carried within him a quiet peace, a stillness that no storm could take away. He walked again along the Nile, feeling the cool water slip through his fingers. He sat beneath the great temples, gazing up at the carvings of gods and kings, but he no longer sought answers there, for the greatest answers had come in silence. God, in solitude, God, in the embrace of the island's quiet heart. And that night, when the stars blinked awake, he whispered thanks to the serpent God and to the island that had changed him. He had been lost in the sea and found by the gods, and now he carried their wisdom into the world. When the sailor finally returned to the banks of the Nile, the river seemed both the same and entirely different. The water glided past as it had always done, whispering secrets to the reeds and the palms. Yet, for him, everything was changed. The village where he had been born and raised greeted him with a mixture of disbelief, joy, and silence. Faces that once smiled warmly looked upon him now with questions hidden deep in their eyes. Time had shifted for him in ways they could not see. His mother's arms wrapped around him tightly, tears soaking his weathered tunic. His father's eyes, heavy with years and wisdom, held a new kind of respect. His friends gathered, eager to hear the tale that no one quite believed but all wanted to hear. The sailor spoke slowly, as though each word carried weight beyond itself. He told them of the storm, the sea's fury, and the night when the world broke apart. He told of the endless water and the silence that followed. Then, the island quiet, peaceful, alive. He spoke of the serpent god who had come from the earth itself, whose eyes held the memory of stars and time before time. He told how the serpent had taught him patience, presence, and the deep knowledge that comes from listening rather than speaking. Some laughed, thinking it a sailor's tale spun from too much sun and salt. Others whispered prayers, wondering if the gods had truly visited their humble kin. But the sailor knew the truth was no matter to be argued or proven. It was something to be felt deep in the bones and breath and quiet moments. The days after his return passed quietly. He found himself changed not just in body, but in spirit. The restless hunger that once pulled him toward adventure and fear had softened into calm. He no longer rushed, no longer sought the noise of the world. Instead, he walked along the river, feeling its pulse in his veins. He watched the sun rise and set with new eyes, seeing not just light and dark, but the balance between them. He spent long hours sitting beneath the date palms, listening to the wind weave through the leaves, remembering the serpent's voice and the lessons it had shared. The island had taught him that life is not about conquering the unknown, but about accepting what is. That silence holds more than words. That the greatest journey a man can take is the one within himself. Sometimes, the sailor would wake in the night, his mind carrying him back to the island, to the soft lapping of water on sand, the shimmering scales of the serpent, the quiet wisdom in its eyes. He found comfort in those memories, like a secret light that no darkness could touch. He began to share his story with others, not as a boast or a warning, but as a gentle reminder that life is fragile, that the sea can take everything in an instant, but also that there is peace even in the most lost places, and that sometimes the gods speak in silence. The sailor's tale spread through the villages along the Nile, becoming part of the river's own story. Parents told it to their children by firelight. Travelers whispered it in market squares. Priests pondered it in temple halls. It was a story not of glory or conquest, but of survival, humility, and quiet wisdom, and it became a seed in the hearts of those who listened. Years passed. The sailor grew older, his hair silvered, his skin marked with lines like the river's winding path. Yet his eyes remained deep and clear, holding the calm of one who has seen beyond the surface. He never sailed again. His hands, once eager to grasp ropes and oars, now rested peacefully in his lap. He became a storyteller, not just of his own tale, but of the deeper truths hidden in the world. He taught others to listen. To watch. To find the stillness within, because in stillness, one hears the whisper of the gods, and in listening, one finds the way home. As the sun set on his final days, the sailor looked once more toward the horizon, toward the distant sea that had taken him and given him back. He felt no regret, only gratitude for the journey, for the silence, for the wisdom. And as the stars blinked awake, one by one, he closed his eyes, carrying the serpent's blessing deep within him. He had become more than a sailor. He had become a keeper of ancient truths, a guardian of quiet stories, a man who understood that sometimes to be lost is to be found. The sun had long since slipped below the distant horizon, leaving behind a canvas brushed with deep purples and soft pinks. The Nile, ever patient and steady, reflected the evening sky with calm waters, whispering gentle lullabies to the land. The sailor sat beneath an ancient palm tree, the same tree that had offered him shelter so many years ago. His breath was slow, steady, the breath of a man who had learned the art of stillness. His eyes traced the first stars appearing in the vast sky above, each one a tiny beacon, a story waiting to be told. He smiled softly, not a smile of triumph, but of quiet contentment. He thought back to the island, to the serpent with scales like shattered gems, to the endless days of sun and the soothing song of waves, to the lessons that had settled in his heart like seeds taking root in rich earth. He breathed in the night air, warm, filled with the scent of jasmine and river reeds. His thoughts drifted like leaves on a slow current. He remembered the stillness of the island, how it had taught him that life is not a storm to be fought but a river to be followed, that sometimes the loudest moments are those held in silence, and that the deepest journeys are those that carry us home, not across seas, but within ourselves. He closed his eyes. The sounds of the night wrapped around him, the soft rustle of palm fronds, the distant call of a night bird, the gentle lap of water on the riverbank. He felt the weight of his body sinking into the earth, safe and grounded. His breath slowed further. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. With each breath, he sank deeper into peace. Memories of storms and shipwrecks faded like distant thunder. All that remained was quiet. The quiet that holds the world together. The quiet that speaks without words. The quiet that sings softly, gently, to the soul. And as the stars watched silently from their place in the sky, the sailor drifted, not lost, not afraid, but free. Free in the stillness, free in the silence, free in the knowing that every ending is also a beginning. And with that gentle truth, the story closes not with a shout or a crash, but with a soft sigh, a whisper on the wind, a feather settling on warm sand. Rest now. The river flows on. The stars keep their watch, and the tale of the shipwrecked sailor lives on in the quiet places between dreams as the night deepens and the world grows quiet around you. Imagine yourself as the sailor resting beneath the vast Egyptian sky. Feel the gentle warmth of the desert night wrapping you like a soft blanket. Breathe in the cool, dry air filled with the scent of blooming lotus flowers and ancient sands. Feel your body sinking deeper into comfort, safe and secure. Let your thoughts drift slowly, like clouds crossing the deep indigo sky. Imagine the gentle sound of the Nile flowing nearby, steady and peaceful. Let each breath carry you further into calm. Inhale slowly, hold for a moment, and exhale softly. Imagine the stars overhead, bright and steady, watching over the land and river below. Let their silent light guide you inward, toward a place of stillness. Feel the weight of the earth beneath you, solid and steady. Know that you are held by the ancient land, by the whispering winds, by the endless sky. Let your mind picture the island where the sailor found peace, a place of quiet green palms, gentle waters, and the soft rustle of leaves. Know that such a place exists within you, a place of calm, a place of stillness, a place where the serpent of wisdom rests quietly, guarding the deepest truths. Imagine sitting beside that serpent now, not with fear, but with reverence. Feel its steady presence beside you, its quiet strength, its endless patience. Know that it carries the knowledge of time itself. Let that knowledge settle into you. Feel your breath become slow, deep, and even. Inhale calm. Exhale tension. Feel your body soften. Allow your thoughts to float away like autumn leaves on a gentle river. There is nothing you need to do now. And no need to hurry. And no need to chase. Only this moment. Only peace. Let the story of the shipwrecked sailor remind you that even when storms come and the seas rage, there is always a place of calm waiting, a place to rest, a place to be whole. Let your mind rest in that truth. Let your heart beat steady with it. And as you drift deeper into sleep, carry the serpent's blessing with you. The blessing of silence, the blessing of wisdom, the blessing of peace. May your dreams be gentle, may your rest be deep, and may you awake renewed, ready to face whatever tides come next. Now, as you settle into your resting place, let your body relax completely. Feel the surface beneath you, supporting every inch of you. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Hold it gently and exhale softly through your mouth. Again, inhale, filling your lungs completely. Hold and breathe out, releasing any tension. With each breath, feel your body grow heavier, sinking deeper into comfort. Imagine the warm Egyptian sun on your skin, soft and soothing. Feel the gentle breeze from the Nile, cool and calming. Now, bring your attention to your feet. Notice any tightness or tension. Breathe into that feeling, and as you exhale, let it melt away. Slowly move your awareness up to your legs, your knees, your thighs. Breathe in calm. Breathe out tension. Feel your hips relax, your belly soften. Inhale peace. Exhale all stress. Let your chest rise and fall with gentle breaths. Feel your heart beating steady and calm. Move your focus to your shoulders. Release any tightness there with a long breath out. Let your arms go heavy and soft. Finally, bring your attention to your neck, your jaw, your face. Soften your forehead, unclench your jaw. Breathe out the last bits of tension. Now, imagine yourself lying on a soft beach under a starry sky. The waves lap quietly nearby. A great serpent lies beside you, coiled in peace and patience. Feel its presence. Calm your mind. With each breath, you feel safer, softer, more relaxed. Breathe in calmness. Breathe out all worries. Inhale peace. Exhale stress. You are safe. You are calm. You are ready to drift gently into sleep. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allow your thoughts to fade away. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, just this moment of perfect stillness, perfect quiet. And with a soft sigh, you fall deeper and deeper into rest. Good night.